Welcome.
Come on.
What's up?
To Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. We are in season 2, getting it done, getting work done. We're on episode 2, technically episode 27.
In other words,
So you will.
we're all wearing tutus right now.
Yes, tutus. You will hear more about this in the future, but I will eternally complain about the fact that, like, can we just, like, why even have seasons? You know what I mean? If you're just gonna name, if the numbers of the episodes are just 1 through, 47 or whatever.
Well,
many
this
episodes
episode is 27, right?
Yeah. So why bother? I don't know. Anyway, this is season 2, episode 2, otherwise known as episode 27. I will keep naming our podcast in the chronological order. So this is 27. All right. So
episode 2 called "I'm Home."
this one's called "I'm Home." And
Insert cry emoji.
quick recap here. Sasha, this is basically
Oh my
Sasha's
gosh.
episode. And Sasha's episode
Sasha
is legit
Brown.
because she's hilarious, but we've seen her do some, like, pretty legit stuff, and we kind of, this episode gives us a little hint, I love how they do this. I'm already getting into the commentary, and I'm supposed to be doing the recap, but I have to mention, I love how in this show, they move the story forward in significant ways while revealing deep things about individual characters to you.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, they're doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's an incredible storytelling.
Yeah, they don't have to waste a bunch of time just going into the backstory
Mm-mm.
for forever. It has nothing to do with the current. They're actually
Mhm.
intermixing them very well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're moving the current events and you're learning new information while
Going into the
getting like
past.
flashbacks and learning more about characters. Anyway, so this episode starts out with, current moment. You remember episode 1 is kind of more like, it spends more time in like episode 1 is almost itself an entire flashback because episode 1 is what's happening elsewhere while Aaron is fighting Annie in the city, basically.
Episode 1, season 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Episode 26.
Episode 26. Doggone, see, it's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, so
Details.
in that episode, they basically spend that episode catching us back up to current. So this episode is like, okay, now
What
we're all at
happens
current,
next?
and we see Commander Pixis.
Commander
We see
Pixis.
Pixis.
Commander Pixis. Pixis gets word the Titans have broken in.
Pixis.
We see Hanji
He
kind of doing her
squints
thing
his
on a
eyes.
microscope, and then we see several of the scouts, so Aaron, Mikasa, the gang, and they all load up in a wagon because they're headed out because they've now received word that Titans have broken through Walmaria. Yes, Walmaria. And so they're like, okay, well, we're basically going on this scouting mission to assess the situation, go do defense, whatever. And so we get this oddball wagon of injured Levi, Pastor Nick, who seemed to know things
With
about
his
Titans being inside the walls, but didn't say anything for however long he was alive. Who knows how that works. Hanji, who's
Creepy Hanji.
insane and awesome. Aaron, who can transform into a Titan. Armin, who's a genius. And Mikasa, who's the most
And-
naturally skilled, like,
Mm.
warrior, basically. Anyway, so oddball wagon, so they kind of head out. We learn a little bit here. There's some interesting little factoids. We'll get into that. So then we get to the scouts that have been sent out. You remember last episode, the scouts have been sent out to go warn other the villages and different towns and stuff that are in the area. These are the scouts that were being held. So they have no gear. They have no ODM gear. All they've got are horses. But they've got what they got, and they're like, okay, we have to go tell people the wall's broken. So they obviously send someone to the interior, and they send people to different villages. And so fortunately, Conny and Sasha are both from the area, so they know kind of their way around. And so this episode mostly is Sasha heading back to her village, and so she rides in alone, intentionally, sees the place is like all kind of beat up. She ends up saving a little girl from a really awkward Titan. We find out later the Titan is eating the little girl's mother who's paralyzed. And then while this is going on, we get a nice little flashback to Sasha's past in this same village. It seems like, I feel like in this one, she's probably like just before she goes to cadets, maybe like a few years, something
She's
like
like
that.
14,
She looks,
probably.
young adult.
Because that's the age
Teenager.
they have to be.
So we get to see like her cool country dad talking and dropping his G's.
He's like the Mark Twain of the show.
Yeah, her Mark Twain dad.
Samuel Clemens.
there
And
you go.
we kind of
That's
get to see
better.
some of her motivations and stuff there and see a little bit of the reality of what's happening in the world of, well, in humanity that's not military, not scouts and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Sasha ends up saving this little girl. She sends her off down this trail. She fights this Titan with nothing but a bow and arrow. and wins. She doesn't kill it, but she does.
Will.
Yeah.
What a boss.
We get a little flashback to some cadets stuff, which is interesting. We'll get into that. And the episode ends with, basically Sasha saves this little girl, runs back into her father, and it ends with Conny and Reiner going back to Connie's village, and they actually find a really odd Titan. A Titan that can't move and that is stuck inside of a house.
Its ribs are sticking out of its...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the gist of this episode. We shall
We shall be
we shall
free.
comment, commentate, commenter, comment. I don't know.
Commence.
We shall.
Aha.
Yeah, but we're gonna make comments.
Commence commenting.
Whoa, commence
Ooh.
comments, dude. Let's go.
Commence.
Okay. So the first thing of note, and we see Pixis. Well, first thing I note is the fact that we see Pixis and Hannes, characters we haven't seen for a minute.
They're just reminding us these people still exist in this story.
Yeah, which
Here
is
they are.
cool because they're like the only valuable and good members of
The garrison.
Yeah,
The
you know,
rest
when
of
you
the
say it that
garrison
way.
Yeah.
kind of sucks.
So
True. Hannes, remember, saved Aaron and Mikasa.
didn't have the strength to save his mom, but was
Mhm.
able to save the kids.
Yeah. We ran into him again. When was the second time?
Is right after they were graduating,
That's right.
and he was like,
Yeah.
"I'm proud of you guys,"
Yeah, that's right. He runs into him on the top of the wall or whatever when they're like scouts. So Pixis, you remember, who's
a boss.
a boss. He's cool. But this next scene, we could talk about. I feel like we could just do an entire episode on like just this. This next one is,
Armin.
we'll hit this more in spoilers, but the next one is Armin and Mikasa and Aaron together, and Armin's just
The
like
Three Musketeers.
comes out swinging and is like, "Why would Titans attack walls that have Titans in them?" And what he's commenting on specifically is not the other times that the walls have been broken. He's talking about this time.
Yeah,
they-
because they're all like,
'cause we
there's
think
Titans
Titans-
inside the wall. Did they breach the wall?
They
Yeah.
think they breached the wall, not because all the other times that
Well, they already have breached wall Rose, but Maria, but we think they've broken wall Rose.
Yeah.
Right?
or yes,
Yeah.
so, yes.
So they think that because the scouts, as we remember, were taken to a remote area
Mhm.
inside the inner walls, and they were
They're
kind
under
of being
watch.
watched.
They're like
to make
basically
sure that
prisoners. They don't know it.
There wasn't any additional, they're prisoners. To make sure there wasn't any additional traitors in their midst, right?
Mhm.
Anybody who was in league maybe with the female Titan. And so they were kind of taken farther away from the action, unarmed, kept a close eye on just to make sure nothing was
Yeah.
going crazy. But while that was happening, there's Titans coming. Sasha
Titans have been
hears.
spotted.
Wait a second.
And then
there's
one guy
Titans.
smells.
If there's Titans
Yeah,
coming
smelly
from
dude.
over here, it means they've breached the walls.
Died.
They're inside the walls. And this is really bad news. So
Everyone
Armin's
assumes,
saying,
right, that because they're in the walls have been breached.
well, they can't get
Because
any
how
other
else
way.
would they be in there?
And here's the thing: is where they would have had to have breached. So where the scouts are being held, they would have had to have breached. Well,
The wall.
so we assume they would have had to breach the wall. But the thing is, they would have breached the actual wall, not the gates.
Yeah, not the gates and not the alcoves.
Not one of the alcoves.
the actual wall.
Which is where they've gone after in the past.
right. And so what Armin is saying is, in the past, the Titans, Colossal Titan kicked in a gate, Armored Titan bum rushed the second gate,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how the Titans got in. Right? We know the female Titan pulled all the other Titans in. They tried to do the same thing in, they did that in Shigashina. They tried to do the same thing in Trost. And this time, there's no alcove close to them. So that means Titans just busted straight through the wall.
So that's confusing. And then Armin is like, why would they attack a wall if there's Titans in the wall?
Well, he said, would Titans attack,
Would Titans attack
would
a wall
attack a
with
wall
their own people
with Titans inside them?
them? And then Aaron's like, well, of course they would. They're stupid idiots. And he was like, no, they would attack anything.
He said they did before. It's like, no, they attacked the gate before.
Yeah.
Because now we know there's hypothetically Titans in the walls. Now, we don't know how many walls, where how
they came
deep,
from, if they're different variety.
sizes. We
All
don't
of it.
know. But we know at least there's 8 Titan in the walls, if not many. And would Titans attack the wall? So far, they've only targeted the gates.
They've only targeted the gates, and they, like, at this point in the
And
show,
the alcoves specifically.
it is unclear, and this obviously this is on purpose, but it is, like, unclear what, if any, connection there is between the Titans who are kind of dumb and the Titans who appear to be shifters. They appear to be intelligent. And are they...
Human-clad in Titan skin.
Yeah. Are they connected, Like, are they in league? Are they connected? Like, are they of the same breed or variety? Like, there's clearly a difference, but what is it besides their
We've
intelligence?
seen the dumb Titans eat the female Titan.
Right.
Yes.
So obviously,
So even that, yeah, what the heck?
They've
That doesn't
also
make,
attacked Aaron and ripped him apart.
right.
So they
there's
clearly
some
go
sort of
after the
enmity.
shifters.
Yeah, and they eat humans, so they just
Mhm.
try to attack and eat anything that's moving alive. They don't eat animals, right?
Mhm.
So there's something about humans, right, that we know of. He says there's no gap or crevice in any of our walls,
So interesting.
so we
No
don't know
cracks.
how they were constructed. We can't reverse engineer them,
Yeah.
basically.
If you don't know how they're made, then you definitely don't know what they're made of. Which is it's interesting to think. You got somebody like Hanji who's like a scientist, and you got at least some scientifically minded people in humanity here, and they don't know what the walls are made of, but that's not like a question like everybody ponders. Like why I just feel like that would be something I'd be looking into like right away. Like, okay, these aren't
Well-
rocks. Okay, these are special rocks. Well, what kind of special rocks? Can we get more of the special rock?
Well, and
Like-
then you have Hanche off in the background looking through a microscope when everyone's trying to leave and panicking, and she's like,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
and they're yelling
Later,
at her,
but-
"You're insane! Would you just come?"
There's some people who kind of pull the God of the Gaps theory, and they say, well, we
The
can't
walls
really
are-
explain it. The walls are a gift from God.
They're divine.
There's a whole cult that says the walls are divine.
Yeah, that's
They were
true.
given to us by God. They've been here since before any of us could remember. And we were
Mhm.
even commenting in season 1 about how
Mm.
when that was that giant wall that was broken, they were like, we're never going to be able to fix that.
Right.
And it's like, wait, if you couldn't,
You can't fix your own walls.
if you
What were
can't
you
fix your
doing?
wall, how did you build the
Yeah,
walls?
where'd they come from? And so
That's
is,
a big cement pour. If that's
yeah, it's a giant
100 years of no
the biggest
breaking down.
cement frame of all time, like so much plywood. Like, what? How did you do this? Yeah, no, but yeah, it begs the question, and like,
What is going on here?
like it does make sense. And now that we're talking about this, is striking me just now that like the whole like cult wall. What am I trying to say?
Wall cult.
Wall cult. That reverse the words, Eric. The whole wall cult thing makes a lot of sense because that is kind of how it would go down. Like supposing again a fictional show in which people behave like actual people. This is one of those things where there's a religious explanation for something that doesn't seem to have a scientific one, and especially in a case like this. Like this is almost kind of like ancient Egypt style.
I was totally thinking
Where they
that.
worship,
It makes
like-
me think of the pyramids. And
They're where like the sun gives life, and so then the sun itself is kind of like a god, it's like worshipped as a god. And you get
Mhm.
Ra or whatever.
and then
Right.
Nile, same thing.
Yeah, the river, right? The river provides for them, and in this way, it's like the walls protect them, and they can't explain the walls themselves in the same way that ancient Egyptians couldn't fully explain the sun or
Yeah.
or the Nile. So
it's got to be
yeah, so it must be
Divine.
divine essentially. You know, like it is a
If it's
perfectly
beyond us,
rational-
mhm.
explanation of what humans would actually do in this situation, if you
Yeah.
ask me. So Ari makes another comment. You ready to have your mind blown? He says,
Mhm.
"What if the walls are all just hardened Titan skin? Because it must be
pretty versatile.
versatile stuff."
Mhm.
He comments, which it really must be, because he comments on how Annie, right, is able to like embalm herself, like crystallize herself in it, and it's impenetrable apparently.
And of course, she had to make herself look like a diamond. Like, okay, we get it, diva.
Ready?
Like,
Shine bright like a diamond. Just can't
Wow.
not do it.
like, okay, we get it, diva. You couldn't have just made yourself a block. You couldn't have made yourself a circle. You'd be
Yeah, if it was a
"Oh, I'm
dude."
so dramatic. I'm a diamond.
I know, and
Ah."
it's like pointed at both ends, so you could just put it in a giant setting where it.
That's what she wants. She wants to be put in a Titan-sized ring so she can be like a wedding.
she could be
a
worn
Titan
as a
wedding.
gem.
Yeah. Look at that. How many carats is that sucker?
She acted like she
147. I
didn't
don't
care
know.
about anything, but really she just cared about the bling. It's really
Yeah.
the truth.
The other thing that's interesting is the fact that she's able to do her kind of Titan hardening thing. We've understand that there is some kind of ability that at least a shifting Titan like Annie has to harden parts of her skin or her flesh at specific points.
Yeah.
And
On purpose.
on purpose. And not only that, she can encase herself in it. And when she encases herself in it, it's translucent. You can actually see through it.
Yeah.
The walls aren't see through.
Yeah.
So is there like different varieties? Are they just dirty? You know, like
Well, her hand wasn't see-through when
Also,
she made her
did it-
exactly. Her hand wasn't see through. So
it wasn't see through, but the stuff on the outside
seemed crystalline.
Seemed crystalline, and you could see the redness of her flesh beneath it, I think.
My point is that what Armin is saying is this must be versatile stuff.
Yeah.
That's like an understatement. Like this must be like the material of a century.
It's kind of interesting too that when she transformed into that whatever the heck it is, it almost seems like she was using her Titan body and Aaron's Titan body to do it, because it was like melting his skin off.
Good point.
And sucking it down towards where she was.
The Titan skin.
Was
Something
like-
about the Titan skin
Yeah.
was formed into something hard. And so Armin's like, I'm going to be a number one with a bullet here and just throw out some just dart-like possibilities that are
Didn't
going to
Hanji
blow
say
our
something
mind.
similar?
Not yet.
Not
In
yet.
the
As I
last
say,
episode?
Yeah, it's not much of a spoiler, but there's more of this coming. Basically, there's going to be more chat about
'Cause I
what the
thought-
walls are made of. I think it's the next one. Okay, so all right, so then we get a quick cut. We get a cover to Hanji. She's looking through a microscope, and she seems to make some discovery, which she doesn't vocalize just yet. Again, we'll get there. And this is where everybody starts to pack into the cart. They're like, Hanji, you have to leave now. We're supposed to leave 5 minutes ago. Levi's there. He's like, you're late. Anyway,
Yeah.
they all
Get in.
pack into this cart, and it becomes clear that they're all going out on a kind of expedition within their own walls, because they've now received report that Titans must have broken through. We're seeing wild like Titans out here. And keep in mind, remember what we saw last episode? The Beast Titan, the horses getting thrown, the fact that the Beast Titan was like speaking. That
Yeah.
information died with what's his name? With
Mike?
Mike.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right? He's
Mike,
one of the
smell guy, the nose guy.
Yes.
yeah, the nose guy.
Mike.
He's one of the
Mhm.
finest like scouts. That information all
Man,
dies with
he
him.
was
So nobody else
cool.
Nobody else except for us, the viewer. Nobody else in humanity knows that. We know that, but yeah. So anyway, so they all kind of pack into the cart, and like it's a very
Along
odd
with
gang.
Pastor Nick,
Yeah, along with Pastor Nick, which is super awkward.
who's between Hanji and Levi.
And like Hanji even who says the comment like this is a bit of an odd group, don't you think? I think Hanji is the one who says that. And Levi's like, no, actually, this makes a lot of sense, which is an odd statement, but
Erwin picked these three for a reason.
Yeah.
Their eyes are
Erwin.
all flickering.
If Erwin picked them, we know there's a reason that all these are together. And I like, if you can, to you 2,000 years in the future, one of our fans, somebody who's much more talented and skilled than any of us, maybe at some point we'll be able to do it. But to go back and just recut clips of this, freeze frame, and then just put the names of each character like a 80s sitcom, and then just like Hanji, everywhere you go, Pastor Nick, hey, use a heart. And it's like a little, like, like the 80s like sitcom of like all of us, like on the road together in the end,
so
like,
recut the
recut this scene, all the odd
to
bunch,
make it sound
right?
like
Yeah.
Full
Pastor Nick,
House.
Hanji, Armin Mikasa,
and just make it an
Aaron,
episode of Full House.
Levi, and it's like, living together, oh, it's gonna be a crazy road, and then like
We're an odd group, aren't we?
exactly. Erwin picked it, you guys. And like episode 1 is like, oh, I bought this new scout uniform, but I accidentally spent too much money. What do I do? Tell Levi? No, don't tell Levi. Imagine an elaborate lie that'll somehow come out in the end.
Every sitcom from the 90s, dude,
Sorry,
was that.
kids. If you weren't around, see some of the epic things growing up, you missed it. All right.
And then there will be.
So anyway, they make a couple more interesting comments while they're in the cart. So the first question, of course, is okay. Why is Pastor Nick in the cart, Aaron? And then they're like, okay, why is he here? And like they tell him like, oh yeah, he knew about the Titans in the walls. And Aaron like flips out. It's like, you freaking what? Like, and they're like, yeah, and he's not going to talk. And then Levi points a gun at him, and it's like, oh, there's more than one way to get a guy to talk. Let me tell you.
Crippled
Hanji's
Levi.
like, believe me, I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Crippled Levi's like still more use than anybody else. Just
Well,
whips a
he
gun
even
out,
says, he's like, I might be useless right now, but I can watch a guy.
yeah.
It's like, hopefully we can get some information without blasting holes in anyone.
And then I think Hanji says something along the lines of, we decided to bring him with us so he can see what a real Titan looks
Yes.
like and see if that changes his mind.
The harsh reality. Okay, so this is where it gets important. This is for the interesting comment. So
And then he like sweats.
why he's in the cart. Okay, go ahead.
Before we jump into that, because that's a really great point, I don't want to jump into that deep. But Armin says something one more time as they're getting onto the on the carriage, and he says the whole time Titans were protecting us from Titans.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is profound, actually.
What in the world? Because we've been raised on this show
Uh-huh.
to know that Titans are monsters.
Yes.
And
However-
they kill and they eat, and they're the ultimate enemy. And they're now, and we thought they were just mindless zombies killing us all. But now we know they're not just mindless zombies. Some of them
Are
intelligent,
mm-hmm.
and they for some reason want to kill us inside the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And now we know that they are the walls, and some of them were protecting us from them. And now we know Aaron, he's got some power, and he's fighting against the Titans. And remember, everyone's a Titan fighting a Titan. That doesn't
What's
make any
going
sense.
on?
There's something going on here that's larger just than the narrative of bad guy, good guy, fight and survive. There's something deeper going on, and this is what Isayama is doing a really good job of. Like, the whole time Titans were protecting us from Titans.
Yeah.
Everything I know is wrong.
There's also an irony
Who
in
actually is the enemy?
Yeah, what do you think the enemy is?
Is the enemy?
So there's an irony in the fact that the civilization, humanity is protected from Titans by Titans themselves, and potentially, if Armin's theory is correct, by like literal like Titan skin is the thing that's keeping them. It's been the only thing that's keeping them up until recently safe from Titans who want to eat them. And I'm not sure if he's trying to make any deeper points here, but like there's other instances in life where like you're protected by like the very thing that you hate. Now, I don't want to get, obviously there's like 1,000 political ramifications, so I don't want to go like too deep into that, but like you have to think, okay, I'm trying to think of a better example, like perhaps like from the show, but like there are certainly times when somebody you dislike, and it definitely happens in the show later, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's certainly a couple of times where somebody we can't.
John is the decoy for Aaron, even though he hates his guts.
Sure.
There you go.
Well, that's not.
It's not the perfect one, but it doesn't.
I'm gonna put a pin in this
Aaron
because
hates Hannes, and Hannes saved his life.
That's kind of true, but there's a specific example I can't get into that happens later in this season where a character that I personally dislike and that I think everyone should dislike saves some other characters, and the motivation there I think is even poor. I mean, like this, you were being selfish even in your saving other people. You're such a bad person. So, but the saving, like somebody you hated,
Annie is one of the people who kills one of the 5-meter Titans or whatever it is in the library.
Yes, she does something good. Like somebody you hate, somebody you think is an enemy, or something you think is an enemy, is actually also serves at some point to be the thing. Here we go. Better example. All right, this is what I was trying. I was like, there's got to be something in history. The freaking World War II. World War II. The communists, like communist Russia, was a bad actor in World War II. Had it not been Hitler, it would have been Stalin. You know what I mean? Like Hitler just was the first one to be like, I'm the psychopath that's going to try and take over the world first. We had to ally ourselves. The Allied powers. We had to go along with Russia because that was the only shot to beat. Well, I mean, it was the best shot. Basically, it wasn't the only shot. It was the best shot to beat Nazi Germany, right? Because they had the land, they had
Japan,
they had the troops. They had we had to do it, right? They were essentially an active enemy. Yet, enemy is my friend, right? Like that's kind of what it becomes. But somebody and something like a system that we stood against, and whatever for the entire rest of the Cold War after the fact. Like something we hated was also something that came to our defense, and there's like this weird irony / moral conflict happening inside of that. That again, I don't know if he's trying to make that comment in the show, but whenever I think about it, I'm like, this is a sticky this is a conversation. This is the kind of conversation you have with a philosopher if you could go back in time and be like, all right, tell me about the ethics of Titans in the walls. Anyway, good point. Other good point is the reason they're taking Nick out.
He's got to see with his own eyes. They tried brute force.
It didn't work.
They tried
hanging him off a wall.
The old Batman, Spider-Man. They dangle somebody out for where is she?
I will drop you right now.
Why do you want to kill me?
Do it.
But I mean, Hanji had him pretty scared. It looked like. I feel like I could have taken it a little farther personally, but she did a good job. He seemed really scared, and he was totally willing to die and not say anything, which we have no idea what his motivations are for not saying anything, because if it was any of a rational thinking person, we're like, hey, as much intel as we can get saves as many lives as we can save. Let's win the war. And he's like, nah, I ain't saying nothing.
How do you beat an enemy who's willing to die for the cause? Which I feel like I just accidentally summarized Armin's statement with the whole thing, which is you have to be willing to become or lay aside your humanity to rise above the monsters.
Yeah. Well,
you have to be willing to die too. That's really what it comes down to.
In World War II, bringing out the Japanese kamikazes, and then the Germans, when they turn on the Russians, they invade Russia. Russia employs a slash and burn strategy.
Yeah.
It says,
Scorched earth. Yeah.
Scorched earth policy, yeah. I will burn all of my own crops. I will poison all of the water. I will burn thousands of acres of my own land just so you don't get any of it. I'll cut my own arm off just to smite you. You know, like that
you got to be the Black Knight. You know.
Yeah.
Your leg's off.
I'm gonna chop my own leg off and beat you to death with
like
it.
that's hardcore. How are you gonna beat somebody like that? It's like reminds me of the Chiefs.
It's insane.
2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes is like at quarterback, and he's a beast, and he's throwing these insane, crazy touchdown passes, and everyone's like, "Oh, how do you beat a good quarterback? You sack him. That's how you put him on their freaking butts. You put pressure on the quarterback, and they make bad decisions. That's how it's always worked." So everyone started blitzing Mahomes like crazy, right? Trying to pierce through.
Yeah.
And Mahomes would scramble, and then Mahomes would like throw a left-handed like far touchdown pass, and everyone was like, "Wait a second!" And then it was somewhere through week 7. It's not still, but somewhere through week 7, they pulled up the stats. He was better under pressure than he was when you just let him stand there.
Yeah.
How do you beat a guy who's better when you're beating him than he is when you just don't touch him? That doesn't make any sense at all. But it's kind of how it is right now.
He's going to be one of the greats.
Pastor Nick, anyway, was so willing to not say anything that you could beat him or kill him, and he wouldn't say anything. So they're going to try a different strategy, and the strategy is, hey, you think you're a pretty tough guy, huh? And he's like, I'm not saying nothing, right? And you're like, okay.
Let's see how you feel after you watch a few people get eaten, and then we'll talk to you.
Because we've watched all of our friends die. And you didn't seem to like when Annie Butt flew through your temple and killed all your friends. So how about you get to watch all of our friends die for your stupid pride and cause?
Save you.
Let's see how you talk then, buddy.
Yeah, so
Friend.
I think that there might be a ploy here to even see if he has some kind of like empathy. Does he actually care about humanity? Like, and if he sees what the Titans are doing to humanity, and will he then talk? Because we don't know. We actually don't know why the dude won't talk. You would think it would make sense. Like, if you have information, you should share because it'll help save humans.
You know,
you're a human. And that's something you should do. And
you want to live, right? Like, you want to live in a world where you're not constantly dead.
This episode comments more on that when we get to Ymir's dad in a second.
But first, Hanjay says, he seems like a reasonable guy, which I thought was an interesting thing to say because I'm like, he actually doesn't seem reasonable to me.
Yeah, he's capable of sound judgment.
But she says he's capable of sound judgment.
So they're appealing to his better angels and saying, like, surely if you've seen what we've seen, you've seen people dying, the empathy in you, the human being in you, will not want to keep doing what you're doing. It's a matter of understanding. You just don't understand what you're saying, right?
Right.
And then she says something incredibly strange and mysterious that we're all like, what does she mean?
Not sure if there's a translation.
It makes her
here.
wonder if he knows something that's more important than the fate of humanity.
What if you were a Japanese speaker? Can you tell us if we're missing it there?
Like what is there that would be more important than the fate of humanity? Like,
I will pay you. I need one person. I need a friend.
I honestly, what else is what?
Yeah, I mean,
need a
there's plenty
Japanese
of things that
translator.
we as individuals lay our own individual well-being down for to see the betterment of something greater than us. Like, that's what we call like honor and glory, and like, right? But here we're talking about everybody. And I'm sure there's some people out there who are like, "Oh, human beings are the virus," and they think that humanity is terrible and whatever, and that's very terrible, self-hating.
Yeah, if you're if you're that self-destructive, sure.
Yeah, don't reproduce and give all your money to the poor. That's great. But most of us, we want to see not just the betterment of society, we want to see the betterment of humanity.
Sure,
we want to see humanity prosper.
Humanity not just prosper,
and be free,
but ultimately be better than it was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to see
people be free.
An intense amount of freedom all over the world, not just in my own country.
Yeah.
I want to see an economic opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to see the betterment of treatment of the poor and widows and orphans.
But you'd think the baseline of all those things is you want them to be
alive. I want them to be alive.
The fate of humanity seems pretty dang important to us is what we're trying to say. So what else could be more important? I wonder if perhaps a different way of putting it would be there's something more important than the fate of this war because, they're in a war. But then again, that war is for survival. So it still comes back to the same. You circle back to the same problem.
You can't be a better person if you're dead. And we're going to get.
So does he know what the enemy is? And does he have a better understanding of what's actually going on? And so therefore he knows something that's more important than what they think they know. I don't know.
He seems to
if that
know
made any
already
sense.
much more than anybody else did.
Well, yeah, that's true. He knew
And
there was
that's
titans
jacked
in the
up.
dang walls, and that the sun makes them move more.
What else does that fricker know?
So we're going to
I
get into
don't
some
know.
juicy spoilers about this line after the
Well.
episode.
We will. All right, so then we cut to Sasha. She's riding
Sasha
into
Bond.
her village with some other random dude, and he's like, "Oh, this next village is up here," and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go off to this other village. It's in my village." She's
Yeah,
like,
they
"Oh,"
peel
she's like,
off.
"I'll go alone." And so her village, we find out, is deep in the woods, and so we also kind of discover that's basically the closest thing to like Attack on Titan Hicks.
These
Where
are the
Sasha's from?
Appalachian Mountains, okay?
Yeah.
They're the mountain people.
These are mountain people, and
This is something
These
that
are my people.
This is something that actually, while watching it, this is what I was thinking. So you can pay him to translate this line better. I want to pay anybody who speaks Japanese to tell me if there's that much of a draw on the way these people are speaking Japanese versus the people inside the walls, the way they're speaking Japanese.
It must be so. Like, obviously we're English speakers, and so for us, when we hear, and we're from northwestern
Japanese
United
sounds
States,
like
we're from one of the
Japanese.
most plain speaking English, American English speaking regions on the planet. It's like here, so the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, and Colorado are supposedly the least accented places to be from in the United States. Like, we have the most like neutral way of talking in the
We are just
American
plain
English.
water, yo.
So
Ain't no sugar
whenever
in
somebody
it.
has like any hint of an accent, even if they're just from somewhere else in the States, like if they're from, the North, if they got the Minnesotan accent, or if they have the, obviously the various kinds of Southern accents and the various kinds of East Coast, Boston or New York or something like that. Like, we notice all those things, and like, we notice if somebody's not a native English speaker and they have, like, we can identify if somebody has a French accent,
Right,
you can
French.
identify that. Or if they
Or
Chinese or like
German.
South African
German,
or
yeah.
Australian even. Like, we
can even
usually
tell what other language you spoke first before getting to English because you're a native English speaker. And so, yeah, we go to England.
Or even other countries that speak English in
Australia.
a different way. Australia, like I said, South Africa, New
UK,
Zealand.
yeah,
UK.
Wales, all of it. And so, like, we can identify all these accents because we're English speakers. I know it's true for Spanish speakers because I went to Spain with Spanish speakers from Mexico, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's the similar thing." They almost speak with a more like
European.
British accent version of, because they're from Spain. They speak Spanish
Interesting.
as opposed to from
Yeah, I
Central
could
America.
detect a little bit in this Japanese that's a little bit different.
But is it
But
that different?
I couldn't tell that it was that different, to be honest. So I'm sure that anybody who speaks Japanese was like, oh, clearly this is way different. But to us, we're just reading the subtitles and we're like, oh, he's talking like he's from the South, the American South.
The American South, because he's dropping his G's and he's saying
He
thunk.
sounds like a hillbilly
He
folk.
don't talk like this
he
a bit too
he,
much.
he
His
uses words
syntax
that
and his
most people
so
don't
on is-
use, and
And he says your instead of your.
leaves
Uh-huh.
entire letters off his words and
which you have to admit, like
goes a walking. He adds them in weird places they don't belong.
Yeah, and
that goes a walking.
I think we've
Get
all
to
seen
running.
a few animes where they try to attempt
Get
a
her
Southern
done.
accent, which is pretty interesting for Japanese people to be writing in Southern accents into their Japanese anime.
Yeah, it was real interesting. That's for sure.
Very,
Mhm.
very. It hits you right in the perspectives, right in your digama. What it call it?
Your
Your
temple?
brain bucket.
Your brain bucket. It
Yeah,
hits you
that
right in the
place.
brain bucket. It
Mhm.
doesn't rattle a bit between your ears, tricks your ears, and it kind of makes you feel.
I reckon they were just trying to learn us something. I don't know what it was exactly though.
I learned it.
I feel like they've been trying to take me back to school, and I ain't going back. I done spent 18 years there. I ain't going back.
I graduated
18.
seventh
How
grade.
many grades did you fail?
Well, sixth grade
All
was a
of them.
toughie.
Every single one.
I graduated sixth grade.
I didn't.
Took me 18
Took you
years. I
18
did.
years.
I
All
did.
right.
That's right.
Okay, so
Okay, we're done
Country
mocking our
Dad,
own people now. Sorry if we offended
Country
anyone.
Dad, they do a great job with the. We should watch the dub version of this. We haven't.
They probably do a terrible.
Oh man.
I'm really
Southern
curious.
accent.
Oh
I'm
man,
really
we
curious how
gotta
that one is.
try it though.
Obviously, we watch the subs, and so in the subs we can see the text. So again, whoever translated this part, it seemed like they did a great job because they like even
We
wrote it
got
in
it.
such a way. Yeah,
Obviously,
we picked
if
up
we're
on
making
the,
fun of it, like
yeah.
we got.
And I know we've got some followers here from from Asia, a few from Europe, some from Canada. I'm guessing it's mostly English speakers. But I gotta say,
Hong Kong.
if you're not a native English speaker, I would like to know your opinion on all of this. But I think it's funny because, like Eric said, like we're from the Northwest, we have a pretty chill baseline accent in terms of English.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're very versatile. So I worked in customer
We're
service.
like Titan skin.
And I can, we're like Titan skin. So I worked in customer service. So I serviced all manner of people from different accents. And out of everybody, I feel like I was the best able to like translate from this one to this one and kind of relay what was going on. But the funniest thing for me is knowing that there was a Southern preacher, Bobby Connor, who went to the UK one time and preached to the English in English, and he had to have a translator for the English.
I didn't know what the frick he was saying.
I was like, you had to have somebody translate Southern drawl to English, which English to English, because there's so much of a difference. So I don't know what kind of countries you guys are from.
I can
I
understand
know,
like Afrikaan or something like that because it's an extremely like what's the English the broken English version in Hawaii?
The sea.
Oh yeah.
Is it,
there's a name for it. It's
pigeon
or something like that.
Something.
Like I can understand that, but just
or
none of that was happening there. It's just a straight up like you have a
Jamaican
Southern accent and you say things like country people would say.
So for our friends in the Philippines, like is there like a Southern Philippine accent and like a Northern Philippine accent? For our friends in the UK, like I know there's a lot of different like dialects. You get like your like
people
London
seem
town.
In UK, I was gonna say people in the UK seem to know like like where in London you're even from, and it's almost like New York. Like if you're from Long Island, you know you have a certain way of like saying it versus Manhattan or something. Yeah,
we digress because we need to continue.
Okay, yeah,
forward.
sorry. So off of the accents thing. Okay, so country
Sasha
dad.
and her dad talk
Sasha's
differently.
been eating snacks.
Yes,
she's like a rabid monkey person.
I just love that that's the intro, and then that's how you know
with a chicken nugget.
You know this is Sasha in the past because she's just like a slightly like younger, and like you see her dad. You know it's a flashback, and the very first thing is her
She's sneaking food,
stealing food violently, and then running off behind a tree to eat it like a squirrel. It's beautiful.
She like kicks her own father in the jaw
to eat some food,
and then grabs the food,
and he's like,
while
we're saving that for
salivating
winter.
heavily and screaming like a banshee.
Is Sasha the most relatable
and
person?
Then he is
easily.
like, this ain't worth the fight, and lets her go.
So they get into this conversation about food, actually. It kind of starts with that.
Well, he's telling her, we need to save that for winter.
We need to save that for winter.
Ah.
Well, they get into this conversation where they start to discuss. So we get our first hint as to when this is taking place, and it's pretty clear from the conversation that this flashback is after the first wall has come down and before Sasha joins the cadets. And we know that because the father comments and he says to her, listen, like, have you thought about why we've got more people? Because they're out, in the sticks. But he's like, have you thought about why we have more people around here? Have you thought about why all this stuff? And she's like,
hunting's getting hard around here. Food and game are scarce.
Mm-hmm. Resources are getting low. She's like, yeah, because, basically.
She's like, yeah, that's why I'm hungry, because there's more people.
So I'm hungry because people are showing up. Yeah, there's not enough food around here. And so the whole point is that, like, they had an entire, again, like, I have to imagine the largest size of territory has been fully lost, right? So in terms of land mass would be this outermost circle, right? That's going to be the biggest wall, and it's going to have the most acreage in there. And so everybody who lived in there is now retreating into this inner wall, and so things are just going to get more crowded, period. And so they get in this conversation, and she's like, that's their own fault or whatever. They're coming here taking
their land.
For losing it. And he goes, no, that's the Titans who did it.
Took it from him.
Titans took it from him.
Wasn't their fault.
And so her dad is this wise and like compassionate man. We start to realize like he's actually kind of like he's thinking. We commented, we were like, oh, he's actually a philosopher. It turns out he's very much thinking beyond
a deep soul
himself. And so what he's doing is he's trying to explain to Sasha, listen, there's a lot of other people who are in need here. And the reason they're in need is because this land got taken from them by the Titans, and we have an opportunity to do something about that. So he starts to explain to her, listen, like, probably our best move, what we should be doing right now is giving up some of our traditions, some of our ways of life, the way we've done things out here in the woods. And, there's a lot of people to feed. We can clear the forest and plant grain. That'll feed a lot more people. Also, there's a need for horses, and we're going to get paid. The government's willing to pay us money for every horse. Every horse we raise is money in our pockets. And so he's trying to rationally explain to her, like, listen, there is a need, and she's stubborn about it. She's like, no, like she refuses.
Well, I don't know those outsiders anything. And
think about what she's doing.
I refuse.
We find her, and she's embodying the thoughts
stealing
she's
the winter stock.
She's eating,
and eating
what
it.
you're supposed to be saving for winter. She has no foresight for what's to come. She wants what she wants now, which is like the attitude of like every teenager,
Or
every
a toddler.
toddler, right? Like, I want what I want now, and I'm gonna fight you for it, right? And he's saying, look, there's something bigger beyond our what's just in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
There's something bigger happening. Well, one of the bigger things is there's a war out there, and our little way of life, our little tribe, is greatly affected by the war going on. Even if it's 1,000 miles away, the things that we can do, we can help.
Mm-hmm.
It does remind me, like World War II, the whole "we can do it," like movement, like moms and kids,
women going to work in factories. That
making
would be
bullets, bringing tires.
That's a really good like parallel right there, because you have to think in the 30s and 40s, like it's definitely a lot more common for women to be in the home, basically be homemakers, and for them to say, okay, this is our tradition, this is our way of life, but there's a need right now for our brethren, for our American fellows, and for our brethren across the pond over in England, and for honestly for the whole world, really. But like, there's an urgent need for us to come together and serve and change our routine, change our tradition, and go send women who are traditionally homemakers into factories, to steelworking factories, no less, to like create wartime materials because we needed it, right? And that was the same attitude.
Sometimes, for the greater good of everybody, you have to lay down some of your own personal liberties, your personal
preferences,
comforts, culture. Even if you're in a prey mode, you're in a kill or be killed mode, you don't have the luxury of like art and culture and games and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, you make sacrifices.
We've seen the people in the interior who are just living it up while people are suffering and dying on the outside. And here's kind of the opposite, right? There's these farming people who know how to hunt, they can take care of themselves, but they want to do something greater than just themselves. They want to do something that just survive for their own little family. They want to help more than that. So that Sasha's dad is willing to lay his family's lifestyle down so many could be brought in. And it's really humbling, and it's like that is the way. He's not some great wartime commander like Pixis. He's not some great general strategy mind,
he's
like
still a
but
hero.
He's a hero.
But he's a hero, man. This guy's laying his life down. He's leading
willing
the cause,
to lay down his traditions to help other people,
inspiring others.
Yeah,
what a boss.
No one's making him do it. This is voluntary. This is him saying, like, I think this is what it says. Yeah, a true salute to you, Sasha's dad.
Did
they say his name?
No.
I don't think they did.
But the thing I think is interesting too is that she refuses. She's like, I refuse. I'm not doing it. And then he says, are you willing to die for that choice? And that kind of shocks her a little bit.
We're all part of the same world.
Yeah.
We're all pack animals.
And he says, if that's your attitude, when you need help, you can't go running to other people.
Yeah.
If you're not there for them now, they won't be there for you then.
I'll be there for you. Sorry.
It's kind of the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you have them do unto you. And so how can you expect others to be there for you if you're choosing now to not be there for others? We need to be not just the change we wish to see, but we also need to be there, rise above what we just want to help others in need in a time, right? Lay your life down for the greater good to help others. And it's a beautiful thing. That is like the best of humanity.
Yeah.
So when people come together.
Oh, sorry.
Just when people come together to help others, like we see right now in our current culture, everyone's so polarized. There's like so much infighting going on. There's terrible riots. There's people getting hurt left and right. And there's all these lines being drawn. But if you go back to things like 9/11, you go back to things like hurricanes, right? You go, the flooding in Louisiana, that's where we don't see these lines anymore. We don't see left or right. We don't see black or white. We don't see any of these things. What we see is humans coming together to help humans.
Yeah.
That's like the most beautiful thing. We're pack animals, is what he says. So like ultimately we want to kind of go graze ourselves. When things get tough, you got to come back to the pack because that's where
we come together.
Sorry,
go ahead. I want you to
I was just going to say, I think it's worth mentioning that when you're living your life and you're just kind of going through your routine, in your ignorance, you don't really think about other people. But when something comes into your life and interrupts you, and you have a choice then to be aware of others or to turn a blind eye, and that's the choice that Sasha has here.
Yeah.
She's being forced to reckon that there are other people in need around her, and she either can be aware of those other people and be compassionate like her dad is saying, or turn away. And that's the choice that she has to make.
Yeah. And these flashbacks really serve, to show us characters' motivation. Why do they do the things that they do? Why is she even in the Scouts? Right? Yeah, which is it is an interesting question. Not only does she make it through the scout, like make it through cadets, she doesn't phase out. You know, you'd think she would. This is just all she cares about is food.
She's the top 10.
She's in the top.
She's
10.
top 10. She's actually very skilled. We see her do some pretty sweet moves in the ODM gear and actually like get some Titan kills and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And
even though she's scared out of her mind the whole time,
not only she joined the cadets,
crying.
she joins the scouts and then finishes top 10 and doesn't go to the MPs and joins the scout. Like we see somebody who's making a lot of these selfless decisions and not and you know she's doing it right now. She's going to this village unarmed essentially.
She's super brave.
Yeah, she absolutely is. So she's a really interesting character because you have this. She's like comic relief, but then you kind of get to like know her a little bit. And you're like, wow, it's like getting to know that like the class clown kid, and you kind of get to know him, and you're like, oh, actually,
wow,
like
you have a soul.
Yeah,
you
have a soul.
Awesome.
You're like a decent guy, and so that's what's happening here is
full circle character arc.
Yeah, as we're seeing the character arc, and we're seeing why it's because she had a dad, which praise God for dads. She had a good dad.
She had a dad that didn't suck.
He didn't suck. He taught her well. He taught her hard lessons. He said things, that may have been difficult. And he taught her more important things than just be polite or, be kind to people. But
or get what you can get, care for only yourself, go to the MPs so you can have a good life. Like, no.
Make sacrifices, love other people's. If you're there for them, they're there for you. Like, yeah, the golden rule stuff. This is a great dad. And like, this is a great explanation of a character. And I love it, again, because it contrasts with other episodes where we get different flashbacks and we find out why somebody's kind of like, oh, like, your dad was training you harshly, so now you're kind of just like a cold warrior. And like, or, it doesn't always work out for that. Or Mikasa, right, who has this extremely, like, she has the opposite experience. Her parents are freaking murdered and she has to, like, survive. And that explains a lot of, like, who she is now.
Yeah. And here's Sasha eating the planting corn, eating the stuff that they're supposed to be saving for winter, having incredible short-sighted, saying like, screw everybody else, that's their problem, not my problem. And here now she is, years later, a hardened warrior, and she's choosing to run unarmed back into her village to risk her life to save anybody else.
She even says, it's been 3 years since I've seen them. So it's been literally years since she's seen anyone.
So we cut to, kind of back to current, and she's on horseback and jumps this bridge and sees the town, and it's like abandoned, basically. It looks like there's nobody there, except for, she sees Titan footprints on the way there, which is freaky. And so we get this scene, this extremely, like, TVMA scene of this little girl who's, like, frozen and can't do anything, and there's a fairly small Titan.
Her back is to the horror show.
Yeah, her back is to this scene of she's in her own, what looks to be like her own home, and it's her mother who's being eaten while she's still alive by a small Titan. So the Titan can't just like chomp a human. This isn't a Titan that's big enough to do that. So he has to like
he has her leg and he's just like gnawing on it,
on the leg,
crunching.
We find out later that this lady is paralyzed, and that's why the mom can't do anything. But so
she doesn't seem to be feeling a great deal of pain when he's gnawing on her legs.
She's given up on life,
but
so maybe
she's just like, she's laying there and she's bleeding profusely, and she's not screaming. She's just kind of breathing heavily.
Yeah, she can't feel her
legs.
I
remember thinking, like, why isn't she screaming in agony? What is happening right now?
It just sucks when somebody has to like struggle for their life, and
is she just so exhausted she can't scream anymore?
It's just like,
does
terrible.
She feel that? Like,
it's terrible for the little girl.
Terrible.
It's terrible for the little girl and for the mom, because like, okay, everyone's getting a ton of trauma, a ton of
psychological damage.
Psychological damage is being done, but also like watching the innocent struggle for their life while evil is overcoming is the most like stomach churning thing ever.
It's pretty bad.
And all we want is justice. All we want is someone to be there to stop wickedness from happening. And thank God that Sasha has become the person that she's become. She's become the hero now of her story, instead of just being somebody who's selfish in her own self.
Yeah.
So she sees an axe, and there's going to be some justice this day.
Dude, she goes right for the nape, too. It's honestly like the smartest play.
She screams like a banshee, like she does when she steals food, and she starts hacking away at the back of this Titan's neck, and there's like blood spatter and steam. And again, the other two humans in the cabin are just like, non-reactive.
They're non-reactive because this little girl is experiencing like the fullest like form of like trauma. What's it called? She's shock.
Frozen.
She's in shock. Medical
frozen.
and like there's a term like we say like, oh, I'm shocked.
Fight, flight, or freeze. Like she's
there's
frozen.
a medical thing that happens to people when they see traumatic things.
She's become catatonic.
Yes, where they call, and the term for it is in shock. So when a paramedic says that somebody's in shock, they're not saying like, oh, they're very surprised. They're saying no, they're incapable of communicating right now. So this little girl's in shock. The woman is paralyzed and can't do anything. So,
it's interesting when Sasha starts hacking away at the Titan. She almost is like, oh, someone's here, and she like puts her head down on the floor like she's relieved.
It's
a little bit.
The deepest form of trauma is all I can say.
It's
When
so
people are that,
sad.
like everybody reacts differently to it. But anyway, so
I'm just surprised that Sasha was not able to kill this Titan.
She's like hacking
A little
so
more
hard
technique.
that she flings the axe.
yeah, a little more technique, and she probably would
into
have.
the
But you think
rafters.
that like
Must
to
have been
steel
like
blade,
a splitting maul, dull blade.
yeah, if it wasn't dull enough, then it wouldn't do it. But if she had a sharp blade, you go in from one angle and you go in from the other, and you carve out that the orange slice. I don't know. So she doesn't do
She
it.
seems a bit panicked
She is. She loses the axe and is like, okay, well,
and then screams.
I'm
and
at least going to
starts
save this
crying.
little girl. So she grabs the little girl. They run out, and
She apologizes to the poor woman. I'm so sorry.
I'll save your kid at least.
yeah, at least
I'm
I can
so
get
sorry.
you. And so they run off, and she's running with this little girl and kind of giving her instructions. They go up to the horse, and Sasha turns around to explain something, and the horse runs off, which is that's the
Checked
worst.
So I'm gonna find that horse one day, man.
One day, and the little girl even kind of makes this comment: like, "Why are you talking to me? Why are you talking to me so politely?
Why do you talk so nice?
And, yeah, why do you talk so nice?" And I think there's a bit of a translation thing in there that's not fully coming across. What she's saying is like, you're talking kind of like proper, I think is more of what she's
Yeah.
getting at. Why are you talking to me so like sweetly and so like proper? You're not kind of talking to me because this is in the woods, this is in the village or whatever where people talk country or whatever. And so what's trying to get communicated here, which I feel like falls in the cracks a little bit in the subs, is the fact that Sasha doesn't talk like she used to. So if you didn't already notice that, this little part of what this little girl is saying, and there's a little more about this, there's another little flashback that illustrates this point that Sasha doesn't talk in her country accent anymore. And I think this is super interesting because I know people like this. I know specifically people from the South who try and kind of like are a little ashamed of the way they talk or where they're from, and so they try not to talk that way anymore. And so it's not why you talk so polite. It's like, why do you not have my accent? Basically, is what this girl's
I
trying to
had
say.
a friend who moved over here from New Zealand, and she was similarly embarrassed by the way people would react to how she spoke, so she trained herself to not sound like she was from New Zealand.
Even beyond just training, I think it's just a subconscious thing. You just start talking like the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah,
And
to a point.
Yeah.
If you grow up, because what I've noticed is like, okay, so I lived in Kansas City with people from all over the world, and it was pretty consistent no matter where you were from. And my friends from, so I got one friend who's from like the sticks in Virginia, where, Virginia and
Appalachians.
or the Carolinas and Tennessee, where they all meet. Yeah, the Appalachians, let me tell you. Thick accent when I first met him. He lived in Kansas City. It's a little more neutral accent in the Midwest. So he kind of like starts to lose it, but he'd go back and visit home. Boom, it'd be right back. Like the second, within minutes of being there, and he'd come back. But it was the same thing for just about anybody.
Where you get them angry,
yeah,
and they go
It
right
comes
back
out.
to their deep accent.
At Dutch friends, same thing. They come back with their
I
Dutch
have a
accent
thought.
stronger.
I wonder if this would be something similar to, for some reason, I just thought of My Fair Lady, where Eliza Doolittle, she's speaking with that thick, heavy accent, but she's not speaking the Queen's English.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's something like that. Like Sasha was not speaking the proper
It's hick
version
speak.
of. It's still English, but it's the Queen's English, so it's
The
the
little
proper
girl-
English. It's
little
the
girl's
polite
noticing,
way of
yeah.
saying. So
Yeah.
I'm
That
they
wondering
speak
if it's
differently.
like that.
I feel bad though for those people because in another flashback we see that Sasha is getting like made fun of.
Well, yeah, that's the
cadet
next
school.
part. Yeah, so let's just get into it. So
Okay.
So the next flashback, so they're running. They jump over this bridge. She throws her arrow. She's trying her best to save this little girl. That's actually where the little girl says, everyone in the village knew my mom was paralyzed. No one came back
They
for
all
her.
left.
They all just left. Which is like the saddest thing ever. And but Sasha's here now. Okay.
Sasha came back. Dang it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they jump the bridge. So right as they're like running down this trail, and the Titan kind of peers out from the house and is following them, and he goes over the bridge too. And so she has this odd flashback to the cadets, and it would be hard to know the names of these other two cadets at this point in the show because they don't talk about them a whole lot. We'll get to know them more, but the dark-haired one, the taller one, is Ymir, and the blonde-haired one is Krista. And so this is, Sasha's flashback, and like the whole flashback is Ymir just like freaking verbally abusing
She is a
Sasha
horrible
for
trash can of a human being.
for talking in her quote polite way or whatever. And she's like, "Yeah, you're faking it. Basically, let me guess, you're from somewhere."
You're trying to hide the fact that you have a bad accent, and so you're being like, "Oh yes, very very nice. Yes, of course. Yes, we only talk very very proper here. Yes, righto."
And then
Yeah, like
That's
that.
not how you really talk.
She
You talk
drives-
all goofy because you're from some hick town, aren't you?
yeah, you're covering it up, and she can kind of tell, which is
Sasha's like
horrible.
super embarrassed about it, and like, how bad a person do you have to be to like someone's embarrassed by something, and
You
you
just
keep
call it out.
pressure, and you just call it out.
And
And
she's
then
like,
she goes,
bullseye.
I'm surprised an idiot like you even cares. Like, she's such a jerk. And yeah, so she said she calls her out on that stuff, and she's like, you shouldn't be afraid of what other people think. Like, she's actually kind of her ultimate point is actually kind of correct, which is like, don't worry
Just
about what
be
other people think.
yourself.
Like, kind of be
talk
yourself.
the way you
But
talk. Yeah.
she's such a bad person. She can't even say that in a decent way. And
People
Yeah, because she
here,
falls out of like, you're still going to be annoying.
people here, like I said, I feel really bad for them because, I mean, if you're around like loving and caring people who aren't like a-holes, then like you're fine. But usually, like I've got this friend from Australia, moved here 8 years ago, 9 years ago, or something like that. And she grew up in Australia. But she's had a thick Australian accent her whole life, like super Sheila, like straight up. And she's lived here like for almost 10 years, maybe 10 years now. And maybe the edge has been like taken off a little bit.
but she still sounds Australian.
But she sounds Australian, and anybody you talk to is like, "Oh, where are you from?" Right? And everyone's like, most people who are intelligent are like, "Are you Australian or New Zealand?" Like, because we can't always tell the difference.
Mhm.
One person was like, "Are you from Carolina?" I'm like, okay, pal. Here's your sign, stupid. But the funny thing is, so
it's like a New York accent.
so we know that she's from Australia. Now here in the U.S., like we think you're pretty cool if you have an accent, and like we give you like a ton of honor and stuff. So like it's not a bad thing.
Oh yeah, no. There's a reason why, like in American films, there's always people with like the British accent. We like love the
Suave.
British accent.
Yeah,
we think they're like so
Australian,
like
New
cool.
I think we're all
Zealand's-
secretly sad we lost it.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
literally all the time. I just stumbled into this YouTuber. She's like a musician or whatever, and so like you hear her sing, and then I watched a video where she's just talking, and she has the extremely well-to-do British accent, the like
The
the
posh.
queen, the
English.
posh. And I don't know what location or whatever that is, but like she fully enunciates all her words. She speaks at the correct pace and uses like like I'm like fat. I almost am missing what she's saying because I'm so fascinated by the way
how
she's
she
saying
speaks.
it. And I'm like, why did I talk like a freaking loser, dude.
So my point was like my friend went back to Australia and like saw a bunch of like her family and stuff, and they're all like, "Oh, you talk like an American now." And I'm like, so she's got like the worst of both worlds because like we think like, "Oh, you speak with an accent." She goes back to her own people. They're like, "You don't even talk like us." Like, who is she? Like, I think like so like
Where does she belong in the
these
world
people
now?
who are in the middle. God bless you. We appreciate you, and it's okay to not talk like everybody else.
Yeah. No, just rock it, dude. Just roll with it, and like,
That's what Krista says to Sasha.
yeah. She says I kind of like her. I happen to like Sasha.
There's nothing wrong with how she
Sasha
talks.
is who she is, and she speaks
Yeah,
the way she
and
wants to, and
not
her words are
everybody's-
perfectly valuable.
She
Shut your
turns to the
face
mirror,
hole,
like, not
you
everybody's as
mirror.
insensitive as you are, which I would have used stronger language myself. But anyway, yeah, seriously, there's this thing in life and in humanity. We've already gone on so many bunny trails, but what's one more? But in life, especially when you're young, and like everybody stands out for one reason or another. You're just going to. You're gonna have things about you that are kind of normal, and you're gonna have things about you that are kind of like not so normal. And depending on who you are, some of those things are going to be really obvious, the way you talk, for instance. Some of those things are going to be less obvious, like, I don't know, certain people have, like, disabilities, that, like, people who, like, night blindness type of thing. Like, they can't drive a car after dark because they can't, like, that's something
They
that's less
actually
visible.
can't see.
But when it comes up, it really comes up, and you feel, like, awkward and out of place or something like that. Or you have an asthma attack, and nobody knew you had asthma, but you're out on a freaking beach trip, and, like, right, there's going to be there's always reasons for us to feel like we don't fit in, and our reaction is to be insecure about it and to feel pain over it, right? And everybody reacts to that pain differently. Some people lash out and are harsh about it, like, hey, don't criticize me. Other people just do their best, like Sasha, just to hide it generally. But like that's what insecurity does, is insecurity is a wound, and we all carry it in various ways. But this whole like I don't fit in thing, or I don't talk right, or I don't look right, or whatever it is, like that happens to everybody. overcoming that is most people's like entire life journey. So it doesn't happen in a day, but it does start with number one, like people noticing that something's out of place. This is my favorite example. So somebody like, we live in the Northwest and we live in Portland, and people are choose odd hair colors pretty frequently, and this always drives me nuts. Like, okay, you have a mohawk, it's bright green, and you have like 12 piercings in your face and neck tattoos, and you're wondering why so and so, like somebody, you're walking to this, at the park, and so kind of looks at you, and they're like, "What? Take a picture, it lasts longer." And they get all upset because I'm like, you have a bright green mohawk. You are getting exactly what you wanted. You wanted people to look and notice your unique haircut, and so now they're looking. Don't effing be mad about it. It drives me nuts. But that's something you can. Then that's the scenario. That's something you can help. But what I'm talking about is there's lots of scenarios where like you can't help it, and people notice. People noticing doesn't make your thing negative. Whatever it is, just because people notice because it's out of the ordinary, whether it's your accent or the way you look or something like that. People noticing is not reason for you to be mad at them. They're just noticing. They're just humans. You would do it too. You do it too. Everybody notices things that are out of the ordinary when they are out of the ordinary. They just do. People making bad comments about it is also going to happen. Guaranteed. It will happen. You're going to get Yamirs who are going to freaking tell you that you're like the dumbest thing ever because you
are
know,
different.
In my case, because I went to church or whatever. Like they're going to do that. It's going to come. The key to overcoming it is A, being cool with it, like enjoying it and loving it, and B, is finding it, like, you have to find a way to not be pissed at everybody who notices and not be pissed at everybody who criticizes, because it will come. It's going to come. If you live with those people's voices in your head, you live in a prison.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of freedom. And Sasha, in this moment, in this show, is getting out of the prison, because she's like, no, like, those comments aren't who I am. That's not what defines me. What defines me is what my dad, the morals and the virtues and the stuff that my dad put in me as a young woman, and I'm living those out right now. I'm making sacrifices. I'm fighting for the weak right now.
What I believe and what I choose, that's going to define you.
That's what makes me who I am, not my accent. And then that's when she freaking turns, and Sasha has this moment after her flashback where she like sends the little girl on her way. She's like, "Hey, run down this trail. I don't know when there will be somebody there. I don't know when you're going to find it, but just keep running. Like, don't give up. They'll be there. They may not be there right away, but just keep running." And she turns on a dime. She freaking pulls out her bow and her arrow, which she knows how to hunt, right? Like, oh, we should just like, her hunting days are over. They had to give up the tradition, but it turns out, there's a bow and arrow. She happens to know how to use that extremely well because this was how she grew up. And she turns to fight and like lives out her destiny. Misses a few shots, hits one in the eye.
Well, the first one she shoots right into his throat.
Yeah, she hits, but she realizes like, oh, I have to hit him in the eye. So she goes then for another shot and hits it in the eye, and then she's down to her last arrow, and she's like, okay, if I miss, we don't escape. If I miss, and she's just like, she stops overthinking it. This is like the moment we're all looking for in our life. She stops overthinking. She stops, with the insecurity, like pulls the arrow as like a knife
out of
and
the quiver,
jumps and freaking stabs this thing in the eye to like guarantee that she doesn't miss and like makes her escape. In that whole thing, it's really subtle, but when she sends the little girl on her way, she says, "Get to running." She goes back to her like country accent. She's like, "No, I am proud of who I am." Like,
who I am as a hero.
Yes.
She looks at the little girl. She relates to the little girl, talks like to the little girl like she would be talked to, communicates with her, and is like, "You go run. I'm a hero from this village, and you have something to be proud of."
Man, I think it's amazing. She like waits until the Titan gets close enough for her to be sure she's going to get him right in the eye.
So dangerous.
And then while she's, screaming and stabbing him in the eye, he starts to grab her and catch her. And she pulls the same move on him that she did on her dad at the beginning of the flashback, where she bends over and like kicks him in the bottom of his, I don't know, what is this called? Chin.
Jaw?
And chin, jaw, whatever. And he like forces his head up, and he releases her, and she runs off. And it's just like,
it's beautiful. And then who does she run into?
She's amazing.
Out, she like, makes her escape.
She hears horse hooves.
Hears horses and looks up. And it's her dad.
It's her dad.
It's the most
with
like
the little
heartwarming
girl.
thing. So they have this conversation that is also probably one of the finest moments of the show, actually, in my opinion.
Season 2 so far, at least, like top moment. Her dad looks over at her and gets on a horse.
He
and
says, "You
says,
fought that Titan, didn't you?"
we were bringing horses to everybody in the village, trying to get everybody out. So her dad was coming back.
He's
Dude,
still doing what he's been doing for years now, which is fighting for everyone else. Yeah.
And she gets up and she says, he says, yeah, you fought that Titan, didn't you? And what does she say back?
I don't think she says anything.
Okay.
He just says,
She
I
says,
know you
"Sasha."
fought that Titan to save that little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha, you're all I hoped for.
And then she
I
says,
could cry right now.
"Father."
Doshan.
And I was like,
How could you what greater moment can you have as a person to have like a righteous dad look at you and say like
"You're
you're
everything
all like you've
I
done-"
could have hoped for."
And
you put aside your selfishness.
Uh-huh.
You stopped being so nearsighted. You started looking at other people. You started risking your life. You started looking at what's the greater good that I can give my life for. And this is who you've become. I'm so proud of you.
And you have to think it was his rebuke in part, right? Obviously, it's not the only way you do it, but the flashback we got was his rebuke to her, saying like, "No, you do have to change how you think and how you feel, and like fight for other people." And that like she heeded that. She heard a critique. She heard the criticism that was righteous and changed and did make the
And
change and joins the
the
scouts and does all
Scouts.
this stuff. And like he sees her in this moment, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. If you got to think about the sons that you rebuke are the sons that you love, right?
Yeah.
If you love somebody, tell them the truth even when it's hard, and you tell them that truth because you want them to get better, not because you hate them, right? And he wants her to get better. He's told her his harsh truth, and now it's produced some good fruit in her life. She's all that he dreamed of. She's become like her dad. It's a beautiful moment.
So beautiful.
And then we flash.
Oh,
Man, this show, it takes you to the heights and then just
also the depths.
guts you.
So now we're going to go to Connie's village, because Sasha and Connie's village were in the woods. They were both kind of hick people. Sasha way more so than Connie, right? Connie had like a proper village. We flash over. It's Connie. He's racing ahead of everybody. Connie, slow down.
Everybody's telling him to calm down.
Reiner and Bertolt were with them, a little squad. Connie's running it, and as he rounds the corner to see his village, we see that there is utter destruction. Almost all of these
All
buildings.
the houses are obliterated.
And there's nobody there.
destroyed.
There's no bodies,
It's
mind you.
empty.
So keep that in
So
mind.
Connie screams out, and he's like, "Oh no, am I too late?"
Well, he's like, it's Connie, I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh, that part's heart wrenching too, because he
Yeah.
sees his village just like destroyed.
And
He's
his
like,
voice just
"Hello,
echoes off
like
the ruined
anyone?
buildings.
It's me, it's Connie. I'm back." He's been gone for like years in the Scouts, and like, oh gosh, that's
And everybody in his village said he wasn't going to amount to anything. And then
Yeah.
he graduates in the top 10, and he was looking forward to going home and showing them all, like,
yeah.
I've
be
become
proud
somebody.
Wings
of
of
me.
freedom.
I'm awesome.
So he rides. He doesn't see anybody. So he freaks out, and he thinks immediately, like Aaron thought, my house.
My house. Yeah.
My house. So he starts to ride towards his house, and in his mind, we see his dad flashing his dad. We see his mom, and we see his two little sisters.
I think it's a little brother and a little sister.
Sonny and
Martin.
Yeah. And he says, everything we've
Please
always
be
wanted.
okay.
Exactly what Aaron said when he first thought about his mom. Please be okay. And as he's kind of closing his eyes, thinking about those things, the horse pulls up short because guess what? There is a Titan where his house used to be. A Titan is like
You gotta love
laying
one.
on his house. And he looks up with these giant eyes into these giant eyes of these Titans, laying backwards, looking at him. And he just loses his mind.
And then is it
'Cause his house is
Reiner
destroyed, and
that
there's
pulls
Titan on
up and
top
goes,
of it.
Connie, whoa, and pulls him back. And then one of the other
Some
people
other
with him
scout,
says,
yeah.
I'm going to scout around. And then this blonde guy, I don't know who he is. I don't remember what his
It
name
looks
is.
like the commander of
But
the
he's the guy who's in charge because he's the
Yeah.
only one in uniform.
He says, how did that thing
Yeah,
get
he's
here?
like, what
It
is
can't
going
move?
on?
And it's like, not with those
that
legs.
thing can't even move.
And
Yeah.
we see these malformed arms, these malformed legs.
The arms are super tiny.
ribs
The
are
legs
coming
are
out.
super
Sticking out.
thin. The body seems too big for the legs. Yeah, there's like ribs sticking out of
Say,
it that aren't inside.
Incapable, disproportionate Titan, and it obviously cannot move, which begs the question: how did
it
get
there?
there?
What is even
Was
if it didn't
happening?
run in
Was it thrown?
through a
Did
break
it
in the wall?
roll?
Like, what the frick happened?
Well, I mean, we did see the Beast Titan throw a horse, but that
Yeah.
still begs the question: like, if it can't walk,
no, and they don't know
And
that.
also,
how did
dumb
it get
Titans, they come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them seem to be these abnormal that can run
Mhm.
really fast and do kind of these crazy movements, jump, leap, like almost like animals.
there? Squirrel.
Some of them are like short and fat. Some of them are tall and skinny. Some of them have hair.
Some have really large heads.
there's just all the gamut. And now we've seen some that are even so much so that they are able to even be
Don't
useful
function.
to anything. They're like,
Titans come in all varieties, all shapes and sizes.
my
It's
mom
very
always said,
confusing.
life is like Attack on Titan.
Oh,
Never
I
know
have
what
a
kind of
song I
dumb
have to
Titan
You never
sing
know
in
what you're going to
spoilers.
get. And then to be continued.
All right. So that's the end of the episode here. We're going to leave it there. We're going to get into the spoilers really quick. Thank you for your time. Thanks for listening. Really hope you're enjoying the show. If you are, you can find us over on YouTube where you can watch all the episodes.
Then you can see my amazing son.
like, you can comment, which we would appreciate, especially comments. And if you don't want to do any of that, please shoot us an email. It's beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. And curious what your thoughts are, your theories. If you, we seem to be getting a lot of people, which I kind of like this part. We got a lot of people who like notice stuff that we didn't, or like correct us in the comments. We're actually looking for that, so feel free.
Thank you.
And Facebook. Yes, we stream live. Facebook Sunday nights around 9 p.m. West Coast time. And yeah, you can join in the comments there and all that jazz. Also, of course, we're trying to burn through season 2 here so we can get into season 3, which is gonna be long. So help me God, it's gonna be tough. But we're trying to get there before October. We're trying to finish the whole series up to current, so that when season 4 goes live, even if we don't, when season 4 goes live, we will be recording live reactions to the episodes as they come out. So looking forward to that. This is your spoiler warning because we're about to get into it. If you don't want to know what's going to happen next,
Spoiler alert.
hey, I got to turn your phone off. So go ahead and pull your phone out of your pocket. You've got 3 seconds before it self-destructs.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
So you got to hit pause.
If you're on your computer, just press spacebar.
Press spacebar if you're watching on YouTube. And if you can't get to that, that's why I'm stalling right now, to give you time to get to it.
Put
Okay,
down
ready?
your sandwich.
Okay,
hit the
3, 2, 1.
spacebar.
Spoilers!
Oh no, Pete threw his cup.
I didn't think it was empty.
I don't have anything to take off.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So
He's a toddler,
let's try and
apparently.
burn through some spoilers here. Spoiler number 1. Titans are in the walls. Titans are made of the
Did you
walls.
take your watch off?
I had to take
your
something
watch?
off and throw it.
You don't have a watch, Dan.
I just took it off. Okay. Titans in their walls.
Titans in the walls. The walls are made of Titans. You didn't really spoil much, but next episode.
I could have sworn in the last episode, Hanjay said something about that. I could have sworn she did.
I don't think so, because they have the conversation, because the big reveal is the next episode. They're in the car, and
I feel like she confirmed it in that microscope, but I don't know.
She does, but it's in the next episode, because her and Armin get to talk, like there's a conversation, the preview for the next episode. Remember, it's like next time on Attack on Titan. They actually, that's what they're talking about. Like they're in the car, they're talking, and that's when they figure out, like they confirm amongst themselves basically that the walls are made of Titans. So
anyway,
the theory is, or the spoiler part of this is that Ymir, or not Ymir, the founding Titan put the walls there in the first place. So they are kind of from a god of sorts, right? So my theory is, or my going theory is that the whole Titan shifting thing has been going on for a long time. Obviously, people's memories can be wiped and so on, but the Titans in general, the Ymir stuff, is ancient. It's actually been going on for a long, long stinking time. And that there actually is a sense in which like Rod Rice and the royalty and stuff like that, as did actual royalty in human history, they think of themselves as gods.
Like pharaohs of sorts.
And that, like, the wall cult and stuff like that is basically defending royalty, and that's why
they do seem to say Krista's the only one they'll listen to or talk to.
Yeah, because she's royalty.
So how long do you think some people came with the founding Titan from the wall cult in Marley and came to paradise, and you think they've been around for longer than 100 years?
Because wherever,
basically, yeah.
Okay.
And my theory is that, like, even the founding Titan coming out and creating, but basically, like, the Ymir story is ancient, like thousands of years, and it's been going on for way longer.
So we've seen shots of what Marley looks like.
Yeah,
and there would look like there was some walls similar.
Yes.
Do you think that there's wall cult people in Marley?
There's some kind of religion.
I think so, because
never test for Ymir.
Ymir got captured and turned into Ymir, even though we don't even know.
They like worshipped her.
Is.
They had some weird religion going on inside there,
and then they found out she wasn't royalty or something, and they punished her.
Well, they just got caught and had to throw somebody to the wolves. So
we commented like in season 1, first watch through years ago. that the people in the wall cult looked like the same people who threw Ymir off the wall, or who worshipped Ymir back in Marley.
Mhm.
We didn't know it was Marley at the time, but we thought that they were connected. And then we had all these theories. So we thought that maybe people in the wall cult would go in and out of the walls to different villages. Now, now knowing what we know, it doesn't really seem that likely that someone could actually go from Paradise back to Marley.
Not
wall cult
easily.
wall.
Yeah.
There's probably no way, but is there some sort of connection there, some sort of weird shared religion?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the religion.
Perhaps.
I think the religion is the fact that the religion exists in multiple cultures is what makes me, or that there is a religion at all, is what makes me think that this religion is a religion that essentially worships the royalty, the royal bloodline, as gods, and the fact that it exists at all makes me think that it goes back.
And it
thousands
seems
of
like
years,
that
or
religion
hundreds.
is illegal on the mainland or whatever, however you want to say it, if they punished someone for practicing it. And that's how
True.
our Ymir ended up becoming a Titan, was because the cult that adopted her got caught, and so they had to give someone up to the authorities. It seems like they were doing it in secret,
Interesting.
like it's illegal to worship those gods.
Eldians.
Yeah.
And that's why the propaganda got spread about how Ymir was just this terrible thing. And
She's a devil. And
and we
all
don't really
that.
know the truth. Like,
Maybe she is a devil.
maybe she was the devil.
Maybe Ymir's not a demon
Perhaps
at
she
all.
did
Maybe
make
the story
a deal with
itself
Satan.
is.
I don't know.
I've actually been saying this since we watched the episode season 3 where the big reveal and they tell the whole story of the founding of the Titans, how the Titans came to be and stuff. This whole time I'm like, okay, well, we think that's true, but what if that's not actually, like, what if that's not even the whole story?
Is he, am I going to throw a swerve on us?
Well, I just think that it's legend, but just because it's legend doesn't mean it's fact.
It sure seems that way. I just said it seems.
Let's
Words
see.
are hard.
I'm trying to think if there's something else along those lines. I'm looking for my other little spoiler note things here.
The line from Hanji about Pastor Nick knowing something beyond, more important than humanity.
More important than the fate of humanity. I still don't know what the heck's going on there.
Here's what I think. I think that everybody's so focused on the people inside the walls because they think that they're the only people left alive. That's what they've been told. But that's not true. Now we know that's not true. They're just a really small, tiny amount of Eldians with the founding Titan on the island of Paradise. There's way more people throughout the entire world, so it's not about the fate of humanity. It's just about the fate of a small amount of people. And even so, on top of that, if Pastor Nick's like, look, you guys, we're not that big of a deal. We're just one small little tiny sect of humanity. Humanity is going to survive regardless. If that's the case, then you don't have to worry so much about one little small area. However, everybody thinks everything is about the fate of humanity, and so they're all super worried about it. So I think that's kind of what her line is alluding to, is like, what does he know? He's not so concerned about all of our
I
lives.
also
Since
think-
humanity is more than just what's going on. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
also think that he probably knows something because people end up killing him later, don't they?
Nick? Does he die? I can't remember.
Yeah, he gets tortured by
Yeah.
the NPC. He
Oh,
might have
that's
got-
right.
He might
They
have gotten
murder
rescued.
him.
They like,
Did he get rescued?
I thought they killed him.
Maybe.
I don't know if they kill him, but somebody is sent to torture and kill him. And I know Hanji serves them
That kind of
justice.
all happens in this
But
season, though, right?
It
This
seems
is,
like his resolve to remain silent does not change no matter what's done to him.
Yeah.
They rip his
even-
fingernails out.
Yeah, they do.
They do. I remember
I'm
that.
pretty sure he
does
gets
get tortured.
killed, and then she goes crazy about it. And
Hanji does?
Yeah, because of how he's killed. And she...
She goes, I can't remember. It's all fuzzy right now. And I'm trying to remember
it's not
what
as
season it
fuzzy
even
to me. I
happens
think
in.
it's in season 3. But
We're gonna find out.
we will
Because
catch up to
this
it. But,
season is the
yeah.
one where, like, the scouts get caught. Like, this, a lot of episodes are around when Ymir, like, transforms.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so you find out she's a shifter. This is also where, like,
Yeah.
you find out, like, the interior is all, like, corrupt and stuff
Season
like that.
three's
It
the
seems
Kenny
to
stuff,
me
right?
that...
Yeah, Kenny is the first half of season 3. Well, not entire half, but that's where we find out about the Finding Time, the Rod Rice thing. All that's season 3, and then the second half.
I was going to say, it seems to me like he... whoever it is that comes for him, they're worried he's going to talk. And so they make sure he doesn't.
Amanda thinks that Nick wanted to keep it a secret because he doesn't want history to repeat itself.
Yeah, maybe he knows something about the Royals.
Maybe he knows what was forgotten.
I don't know.
Is he kind of like pulling a Founding Titan where he's like,
It's better that they don't. No.
Everyone thinks, oh, if we knew stuff, then we could win the war. But then the Founding Titan gets the power. He's like, I'm going to change everything. And then he gets all the knowledge. And he's like, nope, I'm going to keep everything the way it is. And you're like, why?
But why?
They
What do
still
you
haven't explained that, actually. It's exactly why
We
it
have
is.
so many questions.
Okay, so other spoiler. It's not the Ben Shapiro show, but if it was, I'd be like, all right, it's time for things I hate. Ymir, the character. I hate her guts.
She's a trash can.
She's a bad person. She's an actually bad person. I feel bad for her because she had a rough childhood. That does not excuse her and for treating Sasha and talking to her like that. You should never talk to anybody like that. You should never look at somebody and be like, well, you're just annoying. I hate the way you talk. You're so fake. And like,
especially Sasha.
But especially Sasha, especially somebody who clearly doesn't deserve it, has never done anything wrong to you. And like, you're...
Sasha just laughs it off, too.
Yeah, Sasha's like trying to do her best or whatever. And like, the whole motivation for doing that is because you have some weird like lesbian romance for Krista. Like, that's literally it. Like, there's like this
she's
weird...
jealous.
She's jealous because...
So she's making Sasha
Krista, like,
look foolish.
Yeah, gave Sasha her food that one time in the cadets and like, you know, all that stuff. And I'm like, Ymir, and this is what I was alluding to earlier in the episode, is like later when Ymir like transforms and she saves... Who'd she save? She saves Jean, who's in the tower with him when it breaks and stuff like that.
All of
Reiner,
them.
Brian,
Reiner, Bertel,
Jean in
Bertel.
there. She saves
Jean,
a bunch of...
Connie, Sasha.
She saves a bunch of them
Krista.
by transforming and killing a bunch of the dumb titans as the tower is collapsing, and it's all heroic and stuff like
It's
that.
the
But
squad.
even that, she's only doing to save Krista. So she's really kind of doing it because she like just wants Krista like for herself, right? And the whole thing gets perpetuated by the fact that Krista is still like kind of like she. Even the reason she hesitates to transform is because she doesn't want Krista to know that she's a Titan. She's like a Quasimodo thing and doesn't want Krista to like change the way she feels about her. And then the whole thing gets perpetuated by the fact that Krista's a nice person, is a decent person. Is like, no, we're still friends. Like I still love you or whatever. After she finds out she's a Titan shifter, and then she tries to steal Krista away for herself. Like the whole storyline, I'm like, it seems fairly clear to us by the season 4 trailer that Ymir is her power. She's killed and her power's probably passed on to someone else. Praise God. I don't know how wicked this other guy is, but like, freaking Ymir.
A little harsh.
But anyway.
It's possible that Ymir had some good motives in defending royalty because royalty is the only one who can do certain Founding Titan things. Or she could just be selfish. We don't 100% know. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more about the fate of Ymir. The one that we know, at least.
Yeah. You got any spoilers?
No.
Titans are humans.
Yeah. I'm starting to wonder if, like...
That's Connie's mom.
I don't know. Like, did the walls grow? How did they do it? It's just...
They made them. They made them.
They surrounded themselves with dumb Titans, and then the Founding Titan ordered them all to harden up.
Do their stuff.
I don't know, man.
Connie's mom, we noticed this. I think you mentioned it. Or one of you guys mentioned this. Has the same eyes as Connie.
I remember from the first time through. That was when I started wondering, like,
they do a close up. Well,
are the dumb Titans all people? Do they just change? Like, what happened? Because she looks like Connie.
The second, I didn't think it because she looked like Connie. I thought it because I was like, okay, well, this Beast Titan just showed up. These Titans are running around, and this Titan, this is the fact of what they say. They're like, this Titan can't move. In other words, this Titan, and then the next episode when she talks to him and is like, welcome home or whatever she says, I'm like, that's his mom. That's like somebody who knows. I'd missed this the first time, the eye thing, because they do the close up of her eyes and his eyes, and they look very similar, the same color and stuff. I'd missed that, but I didn't need that. I was like, that's the freaking person. I was like, wait, so a person can be turned into a Titan.
This is where we once again wonder if all the small Titans are children.
Which would be horrible, but would make a lot of sense.
Because his brother and sister
because there's
aren't
elderly
there.
Titans. What if Connie's mom was also disabled, and that's why she was
I
turned
was
into a
wondering
Titan?
that
She
too,
can't.
That could be
actually.
an interesting point. That's the thing. I think it's definitely, this is not the way things were supposed to be. You were never supposed to be a dumb Titan.
No.
Because you're so deformed and weird, and some people can talk and some people can't. Some people have certain uses of their faculties. Some people can't. Some people don't have legs. Some people's heads are so big they crush themselves. Like,
also, you have to keep in mind some of the Titans could, again, supposing my theory is right, that like the Titan thing's been around for a long time. Some of those Titans could be, Ymir's out there for like 70 years.
Yeah.
Some of these titans could be hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
You have a thought? Here, wait. Do you want to be on camera and share, or do you want to here give her a mic? Our special guest, my wife Becca, has a thought.
Hello, podcast people. My thought is, you were talking about how different they look and how sometimes their heads are too big and sometimes their bodies like can't hold themselves. When Rod Rice turns into the giant one,
Yeah, he's malformed.
he does lick it off the ground rather than having it injected. So I'm wondering if maybe the way they get the serum, maybe it isn't always
how it's
the
administered.
same. Maybe they just, I don't know.
Maybe it affects their transformation.
Or yeah, maybe it affects
Yeah.
them differently. Each person doesn't always
Yeah, we're not sure
receive
how
it.
the Beast
I don't know.
Titan infected everybody. Whether he went room by room injecting a bunch of people, or he
It
just
seems
poisoned
to
the
me
well.
like it all happened at the same time somehow.
It seemed like they got all exploded out of their houses.
Because as we've pointed out before, like if he did it one house at a time, the other people would have heard the commotion and run away. But it seems like all the houses are destroyed in a
All the
very
houses are
similar
destroyed.
fashion. And when you see Connie's mom, it's like she exploded inside of the house and blew the roof off of
Yeah.
it and then got stuck because
How do you transform all of them at the same time?
and a lot of the houses had holes, like something exploded inside and then just walked out.
Every time we see somebody injected with the Titan fluid, it's all technology from years ago. It's all
Yeah.
old technology.
Yeah.
It is. I know this because when Ymir gets transformed,
Mhm.
it's old technology.
70
It
years.
was 70 years ago. When Aaron gets his shot from his dad, that's at least 5 years in the past. But the technology, like the Titan
injection.
fluid that he had, the injection that he has is from years ago when so we're talking like 20 years prior in total, right?
Mhm.
So like the injection thing he has is old. Is
So
at least
you
at
think
least
Perhaps
the
there's a
injection
new
method itself?
technology. Of
when
how
Rod
to-
Rice transforms, they have that needle sitting around. They just happen to have that. When he transforms again, that needle's been like protected. Like it's basically just been sitting there for who knows, maybe the length of the life of the walls.
And that's the same needle they used to inject Armin with to become the same thing. So maybe there's a gas.
And so what I'm saying
Maybe.
is that it's very possible the Marlians have come up with a more efficient way of turning people into Titans.
Interesting.
and you
Good
can
theory.
turn multiple people at once.
Maybe you can snort it.
He has to have done multiple people at once. But yeah, gas maybe. I don't know. It's interesting.
Hmm.
You were saying that poison the well, but I'm like, well, then just have to wait for everyone to drink. I don't know.
All right.
Anyway,
Well,
Yes, it's all very
we want to hear your
confusing.
guys' theories. We want to hear your guys' comments. We want to see your guys' thumbs, preferably in the up position. And if you don't mind dropping us a like on YouTube, Facebook, and give us a 6-star review if it was possible. But 5 will work as well.
please and thank you. Also, we have a new logo as of this episode. I mean, if it's going to be retroactive, so. But this is the episode where the new logo went live. So
We're very excited about
merch is finally going to happen.
It's coming.
All right,
It's
guys.
coming.
We
it.
love
We'll
you.
have new cups.
We shall see you in the next episode. You need to go get your. All right, you can do a measuring cup.
Pete,
Thanks for
gonna-
joining us, friends.
We're doing it. All right, bye.
I drank.